What exactly would a crossover between Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon look like? Let's talk about it! Are forms going to be Pokemon's newest recurring gimmick? Spider-Man is now officially out of the MCU. Should Crash Bash get a remaster? Do you remember Splashdown Rides Gone Wild? So what do gamers really want from the next console generation? Invader Zim enter the Florpus. When in the world is GTA 6 going to drop? Let's talk about it! What's going on, guys? J.Bandicoot here, back with another video, and today we're exploring a suggestion from one of my subscribers. Crash Bandicoot Fangirl posed the question in one of my recent update videos: what would a potential crossover game between Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon look like? And the question really piqued my interest, so today we are here to speculate what could happen with these two PlayStation icons. Now, before we get started, I want to address the elephant in the room. There's indeed already been a crossover game featuring the orange marsupial and the purple dragon. In fact, there were two: Crash Bandicoot Purple, Ripto's Rampage, and Spyro Orange, the Cortex Conspiracy. However, these games were so poorly received that we tend to forget that they even existed, and try to erase them from the annals of history wherever we can. Instead, let's look at some concepts that would be, actually good. So here's what I could come up with. The first one I came up with was a racing crossover. Now this one has kind of already been done with the recent update to Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, as the Spyro and Friends Grand Prix update saw Spyro, Hunter, and Nasty Nork make their way into the game accompanied with a Spyro-themed track. It also came with Spyro-themed kart sets and Spyro-themed wheels as well. However, this concept could range into such a deeper experience than that. For starters, there are a ton of Spyro characters that people are dying to see race against the existing roster. Characters like Bianca, the Sorceress, Agent 9, Ripto, Moneybags, and more are all fan-requested racers to be included in Nitro Fueled, but the amount of the other characters that are on the way for this game kinda get in the way of their inclusion. Instead, what I'm proposing is a sort of half-and-half roster. 50% of the racers could be from the Crash Bandicoot universe, and 50% of the racers could be from the Spyro universe. There could also be the inclusion of all new tracks built from the ground up to reflect the different games and different eras in which the games existed. You could have a track that represents one of the original trilogy of each game, and that brings you at 6 tracks right there. You could have a track based on Crash 1, one based on Crash 2, one on Spyro 1, etc. And you could even bring concepts from their later games in as well. Legend of Spyro inspired tracks and Twinsanity inspired tracks, for instance. This would help bring much more diversity to the game and see different environments and areas explored without having to reuse tracks from Nitro Fueled. I don't think this kind of crossover would be very likely though, as Nitro Fueled seems to have filled the racing itch for many fans of the Crash and Spyro series. Still, it'd be cool to explore down the line, and a cool concept for sure. The next concept that I had in mind is a sports game similar to the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games franchise. This idea has actually turned into somewhat of a meme as of late, as there have been fan-made art circulating on Twitter and Reddit of such a concept. I think if done well, it'd be a great idea to explore so long as they don't stick to the strict Olympic Games aspect. Take, for instance, the Dream events in the later Mario and Sonic Olympics games. That was weird. Those events took loose concepts from actual Olympic games and gave them a different spin based on the Mario and Sonic franchises. With the implementation of events like these in a Crash Spyro crossover, we could see sporting events that implement the use of our favorite heroes' signatures, which would be awesome to see. You could have a potential flying race where Spyro could fly and Crash could use his aircraft, potential shooting galleries where Spyro could use his fireballs and Crash could use his Wumpazooka. I call it a Wumpazooka, it's a Wumpa cannon, whatever. And you could have a platforming challenge where different characters have different abilities to traverse the platforms. And you could even have the boss fights featuring characters like Ripperoo, Koala Kong, Nasty Nork, and Malifor that the characters have to team up to take down. It's definitely a concept that could be busted wide open with these kinds of elements in place, and could provide a completely new spin on what the Mario and Sonic games created. It doesn't even have to be Olympics-based, it could just be a sporting contest similar to that of Wii Sports Resort and the like. This is something I would definitely like to see in the future. Another concept that I had is the potential for a fully fledged crossover adventure with the two protagonists. This idea was touched on a bit in Crash Orange and Spyro Purple, but I'm talking about a fully fledged title, not just a different genre like a party game or a racing game. What I'm talking about is a full-on platforming title featuring both characters similar to, let's say, Ratchet & Clank, Sly Cooper, or even the LEGO games where you can swap in between characters or have to use certain characters for certain missions. This was kinda the case in Skylanders, but I feel like this thing could be busted wide open. This idea wouldn't have to necessarily limit the playable characters to Crash and Spyro either, as Coco, Hunter, Agent 9, Nina Cortex, and many others could have the potential to be playable. What this game could do is give an all-new adventure where Crash and Spyro are forced to team up in order to take down their enemies or even an all-new bigger threat. The development and dynamic between Crash and Spyro in such a game could be amazing to see, as the potential and foundation for an epic, entertaining, hilarious, and enthralling story is simply the writing on the wall here. It would take a massive amount of effort to screw this thing up, but we saw it in Crash Purple and Spyro Orange, so it can definitely be done. But I definitely think that this game could be worth exploring for the sheer amount of fan service alone. And the last concept that I had in mind is probably the most likely to happen, as it was pretty much the basis for Spyro Orange and Crash Purple. A party game. Now, the way that those games implemented the party aspect was complete and utter garbage, and I would expect a new party game to stray away completely from what its predecessor did, and implement on what they failed to do. For starters, they wouldn't be on a console that couldn't handle it. A Crash and Spyro party game on modern-day consoles could have so much potential. You could even have games like Mario Party for reference, and one game that I think of in particular that they could draw from that nobody seems to remember is the old original Xbox game Fusion Frenzy. Anybody remember that one? If you do, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There could be so many different ways you could take this kind of game. You could have it minigame and board game based like Mario Party, or you could go for a strict competitive points based system. Either way, with minigames based on the aesthetics, world, and abilities of both franchises, it could be something truly great and would definitely have a lot of potential moving forward. Plus, Crash and Spyro both are much overdue for an actual good party game anyway, and there are a lot of Crash fans who want to see Crash Bash remastered, so that would be a way to please nearly every demographic. But those are just my thoughts on the potential for a Crash and Spyro crossover game. Thanks for watching. If you have any other ideas on potential crossover games, leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the world to me. If you liked what you saw here, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and while you're down there, smash that like button and the notification bell to stay updated with all my future videos. Thanks, guys, and as always, I'll see you next time.